The Nine, Guardians from Beyond. This story is for entertainment only, and not intended for any other purposes. Tonight on Space, the Final Frontier Above and Beyond, an open-minded channel, our journey leads into one of the most secretive psychological research programs in American history. Hidden along the shores of Chesapeake Bay at Edgewood Arsenal in Maryland, a classified operation quietly unfolded in 1952. Its name was Project Penguin. Outwardly, it focused on human performance, psychology, and chemical influence. Yet beneath the official narrative lay a far more shocking objective: communication with non-human intelligence. The architect of this mysterious effort was Dr. Andrija Puharich, a highly trained physician and psychiatrist with an appetite for the unknown. To his superiors, he was studying altered states of consciousness. To those invited into his inner circle, he was attempting something revolutionary. Puharich believed that hidden within the human mind was a signal capable of reaching intelligences beyond Earth. His goal was not superstition, not ritualistic seances, but controlled experiment. Within a specially engineered copper-lined chamber built to U.S. naval electromagnetic shielding standards, Puharich established a cutting-edge laboratory. This was a Faraday environment designed to silence the noise of the outside world and ensure that whatever communication occurred came from the mind and nowhere else. No incense, no mysticism, only scientific instrumentation and a belief that consciousness could be a conduit. Psychics, military personnel, and researchers gathered to explore telepathy, remote communication, and the mysterious interface between thought and the universe. It was within this sealed room that the most extraordinary moment of Project Penguin took place. In December 1952, Puharich invited a distinguished spiritual healer, Dr. D.G. Vinod, to participate in one of these sessions. Calmly, Vinod entered a meditative trance. His voice then changed, his breathing slowed, and suddenly he spoke as though he were no longer alone in his own body. A new presence introduced itself. Not one, but a collective. They called themselves the Nine. They did not claim to be ghosts or departed ancestors. They described themselves as eternal intelligences, forces that existed before humanity, and watchers of civilization since its birth. Their message was astonishing. They were architects of knowledge, guides of evolution. According to their words, their purpose had always been the protection and advancement of humankind. Puharich asked for clarity. Who exactly were they? Where did they come from? A single name emerged, a name that reshaped the experiment entirely. I am Atum. This was no unknown entity. Atum is one of the earliest creator deities in ancient Egyptian cosmology, the primordial being who emerged from darkness to form the world itself. With this revelation came a cascade of implications. The Nine spoke of their identity as the nine foundational principles of the universe. They referenced their presence in the ancient world, especially in Egypt. Historians recognize the Ennead of Heliopolis, the divine council of 9 gods who guided the pharaohs and governed the cosmic order. At their head, Atum, followed by gods associated with wisdom, justice, creation, and the stars. Was this all coincidence? Or had an American military experiment made contact with the same intelligences worshipped in antiquity? To explore that possibility, one must look toward Heliopolis, also called the City of the Sun, near modern-day Cairo. Although most of its structures have faded into the sands of time, one enormous obelisk remains, marking a location that once served as the spiritual heart of Egyptian knowledge. According to ancient inscriptions, the pharaohs believed that communication with the Ennead was essential to maintaining the prosperity of Egypt itself. The gods were not distant. They were accessible. They brought tools, teachings, even technology. Their legacy implies a profound question. Did the Egyptian gods originate on Earth, or did they arrive from the stars? Project Penguin suggests the latter. Puharich pushed deeper into the phenomenon, convinced that he was dealing with something older than mythology and more advanced than humanity. The nine presented themselves as caretakers, intervening throughout history to guide human development. They implied that civilizations rise not by accident, but by design. They warned that humanity must evolve responsibly or risk losing its guardians altogether. Skeptics dismissed the work as fantasy and manipulation, yet military intelligence continued to monitor it. Other governments took notice. The idea that consciousness might serve as a bridge to extraterrestrial communication reshaped classified research for decades. So who are the nine? Gods from forgotten temples? Extraterrestrials embedded in our evolution? A universal intelligence using myth as its mask? Or perhaps the most ancient alliance ever known, silently steering humanity toward a future it has not yet earned? One fact remains. The messages spoken in that copper-lined chamber in 1952 echo eerily across thousands of years of human history. Egyptian priests once called upon the nine for guidance. Modern intelligence agencies now appear to do the same. The truth behind these entities may hold the key to our origins, our purpose, and our destiny among the stars. The question is no longer whether someone is watching. It is whether we are finally ready to listen. There is a credible basis to say that Andrija Puharich and his associated efforts intersected with what later became known as remote viewing RV research. But the evidence is complex and partly circumstantial. What the evidence supports. Puharich delivered a paper in November 1952 entitled An Evaluation of the Possible Usefulness of Extrasensory Perception in Psychological Warfare, which indicates he proposed ESP research for the military. A scholarly analysis, Psychic Spies, Cold War Science and the Military Occult Complex, states, remote viewing was a learnable skill that could be acquired through instruction and practice. This suggests the military parapsychology nexus was aware of remote viewing style research, for which Puharich's work was a precursor. One retrospective commentary states he was at the center of experiments using LSD, not just in development of the military potential of ESP, but my possibility of finding a drug that would stimulate psychic abilities. Some authors assert Puharich claimed involvement with a U.S. Navy project called Project Penguin, 1948 onward, whose purpose was to test individuals possessing psychic powers. What the evidence does not conclusively show. There is no definitive archival confirmation that Project Penguin existed under that name. Official records appear to deny it. A clear, documented remote viewing program under Puharich's direct control, labeled as remote viewing, has not been firmly proven in declassified government files as of now. Many claims linking Puharich directly to remote viewing and the later well-known remote viewing programs are derived from secondary sources, interviews, and his own statements rather than fully declassified archival documents. My assessment. It is reasonable to conclude that Puharich's experiments laid groundwork for what became remote viewing programs, such as those run by Stanford Research Institute later. His work with psychics, his military/ESP interest, and his link with electromagnetic shielding and altered states all align with RV-type research. However, stating that he used that technology for remote viewing in the modern sense, structured remote viewing sessions as later done under the U.S., would be somewhat speculative, because the direct linkage is not fully documented. Final thoughts. When you research Project Penguin, you will see a lot of information, some good and some bad, and I feel that is exactly what they want. Nothing to see here, move along. With that being said, I have to admit most of Puharich's work is still classified, so we can't say with certainty that on that day, perhaps they did talk to someone far, far away. This is space, the final frontier above and beyond. If you have enjoyed this story, like and subscribe so you won't miss the next Above and Beyond episode. Stay curious. Keep watching the skies. The universe is speaking.